Hello, everyone out there in Facebook land. You are joining myself, Andrew Berman, and my buddy Paul Lucido here. He's connected from the West Coast. I'm here in New York, in beautiful Long Beach, New York. And you're watching what we have started about 12 episodes, right? This is our 12th episode. So this is our first time doing it. And we started a journey a while ago. We were both reading Jay Doran's 30 Days of Thought. It's a book that's created, designed for you to read, get inspired, write, and then record your thoughts. It's a book actually it's more than a book. It's really a movement. There are just all sorts of people actually that are digging into it. Paul and I kind of started this as a way for us to be comfortable with being uncomfortable. You know me as the guy from Mortgage News Network or various other businesses I'm involved in. And you know, actually, I'm not a person who's shy. But when it gets to just talking about my own thoughts and things like that, it's something that just doesn't come natively. Paul and I said, hey, let's take Jay Doran's 30 Days of Thought and go through passages. Started 12 episodes ago. And thank you for joining us. So if you're just catching this for the first time, thank you, welcome, and you can kind of find us on YouTube or on using hashtag. What's our hashtag on this?
Hashtag Lucido and Berman.
Fantastic. You'll click that and get more of our episodes. Today we're doing Approachable. That's our passage for today. Approachable. I'm going to start it off with Jay's abstract. So at the end of each passage, he gives like an abstract, and then we'll kick it off with Paul because I always love what Paul has to say about each one of these passages. So it's the sheer mass of life experience intertwined in heaping conversation and expansive volume creates opportunity. Approachable. Without further ado, kick it off to Paul, who always just does such an amazing job of digging into these chapters, finding the real meaning, and gives me ideas for things that I can say when it's time for me to go. Paul, take it away.
Thank you, Andrew. You're always very kind to me. And again, brother, it goes both ways. I glean off you as well. So that's what makes us great, different perspectives. So look, read the chapter. It's short and brief, but it's very much to the point. And what it's essentially speaking to, this is about letting our guard down and being open to having conversation, which is essentially what you and I are doing. We've been doing this now for, like you said, 12 episodes. We're having conversations. I mentioned earlier in one of the episodes, I don't know if it was episode 11 or episode 10, whatever it was, about, just having some good campfire talk with others. And that promotes sometimes some high level thinking. Depends if alcohol's involved or not. That's always a factor. But look, the idea here is being authentic and open and to being approachable. Now, it all starts, I just put some notes here too, but let me just kind of get through this a little bit. So the bottom line is, we all have a story, we all have a narrative, each one of us. Now, in most instances, we're all the star of our own little performance, right? We're all the star, and in our narrative, it's about us for the most part, but it's also about who we interact with and who we encounter along the way. So part of the journey, is connecting with others. And, as Jay kind of pointed out, and I agree with him, he was talking more from a biological perspective, which there's truth to that. As humans, as creatures we are predisposed to connecting with one another. I mean, at the end of the day, it takes having communication and a conversation for us to literally move forward, for literally to be able to, engage with one another and to learn from one another. I put here, communication is a large part of that, and it's how things get done. Okay. It is how we grow, whether it be from enlightenment or a suggestion that change is imminent. And of course, with change, sometimes there's some discomfort with that. Again, through conversations, and through talking to others, we actually learn. Obviously, that's a given. But I guess more importantly, you need to also be open to being a little bit vulnerable to having these conversations. and you need to be empathetic. Okay, you need to have the ability to, share the feelings of another, and be able to understand where they're coming from. And that takes being a good, active listener. And then, of course, you want to be consistent, okay, to your character. Be who you are. Don't pretend to be something that you're not. So I kind of gleaned from that. I love the little metaphor he used. Go past, get past, go collect your $200. As you begin your journey. The ignition to the journey, the prime mover is literally you. It literally starts with you taking initiative, Andrew. It takes, we as people, we have to be open to having the conversation. If you're going to be closed off, you're probably not going to grow. Okay. But if you're going to be open-minded to having the conversation, doing what you and I are doing, we have been distilling these messages, these parables that Jay has organized and written. And we're trying to figure out, what is their meaning? What we're both gaining from it is we are having our own perspectives. We're kind of creating our own story, our own narrative, our own opinion of it. And then in addition, we are literally having a conversation about it. So look, let's kind of go from there and let's just see where this takes us. You're up, my good man.
Fantastic. All right. Awesome. So, all right. Here's my take. I'm going to read my notes here. Okay. Well, in life, we have the opportunity to meet so many people who have a vast array of experience and knowledge. Just talk to more strangers. Engage with people who have no reason or agenda to engage with, other than sheer curiosity about what they're passionate about, what they love most in life, and what they did to get to wherever they are. So like I'm reading this passage, and my buddy Mark Dimitru wrote a book that made me think of this. And I this is something that when I read this passage, it was like I was reading his book. So Mark Dimitru is a top originator. He wrote a book called Lessons from My Grandfather, and in it he talks about his grandfather, who came from nothing. He just basically came to the United States with nothing, and he would just engage with people and talk to people. So in this way, I'm going to quote his book. This is very, very targeted here. Everyone you pass on the streets has something to teach you. He always said, you could always learn something from everyone, he would say. Don't think you know it all. Don't ever look down on anyone. I mean, the idea is that, whether it's the bathroom attendant, in your favorite restaurant, or the contractor that's coming to your house, or you're just sitting online at Starbucks and someone's ordering a drink. Just engage with people, talk to people. I mean, but let's think about this. We are in the business of really having to engage with people. That's what we need to do in our industry as we're trying to find loans. We have to engage with people, talk to people. Most of our people in our world are great at that. Are great at engaging and having conversations, striking up conversations with random strangers. So that's what I pulled out of this.
Well, first of all, I think your perspective is, you kind of nailed it. From my perception, my perspective. Let me just say this. You brought up about the grandfather, which is really interesting. My grandfather was a very loquacious kind of guy, and you could drop him in a room anywhere, and he will talk to anybody and everybody. And I think over time, I kind of adopted a little bit of that. I think it's just in the gene pool, literally, or in the DNA, as one would say. Cab drivers. We learn a lot from cab drivers, right? And in particular, when we travel for the mortgage industry, PRMG, do a lot of traveling. We got a couple of events coming up. And more or less, I'll be in an Uber or a cab, right? A yellow cab. And the reality of it is that you can learn from other people, as you said, but you got to just be open to having those conversations with others. I go back to the same thing I talked about before, and I don't mean to be bringing him in constantly, but Covey talked about the 7 habits, right? About, again, increasing your circle of influence, and by doing so, you reduce the circle of concerns. But it also speaks to about being proactive, taking initiative, be a good listener, stay consistent, and then, of course, practicing empathy, as we talked before. When you are talking to somebody, you need to drop your guard down a little bit. Stop trying to think about what it is that you want to talk about and be more open just to listen to what they have to say. And you could probably learn something. There's something to be learned from everybody that you come across, okay? Whether good or bad, whether it causes pleasure or discomfort, right? And a lot of that can also be what you carry with you, back to the baggage, back to the trappings, back to all the stuff in the basement, back to the matrix that Jay was referring to, the matrix being one of those things. So, I mean, at the end of the day, that is exactly what we are legitimately talking about here. You have to look at the fact that we're all going to have preconceived notions, and those preconceived notions are going to have a role play in how we comprehend and interpret what somebody is sharing their narrative with us, their story. So the key is just be open. Keep yourself wide open. Be a good listener. I think that's what Jay is talking about. And also, when you sit with somebody, in order to elevate your own game and to learn, ask good questions. That will help get people talking. People love to talk. Most people do, and they'll start to share with you. So it's a whole growing experience. It's an evolution of heightened awareness. All these things play into it as a result of having and being open to the conversation. That's really key. That's kind of what I think.
Yep. No, I think that's great. Yep. Be open, engage, and be receptive to other people's gifts of the world. Right. So wonderful, fantastic.
I mean, think of it this way, Andrew. All the books that we're reading, Christine Beckwith's book, right? She's sharing her story. I read the few books that I've been reading. Each one of these individuals are sharing their story, and they're trying to explain to us how they got from A to B and the plight that they had to endure along the way. There's always going to be a plight. But I think what Jay is saying, and correct me if I'm wrong, 30 Days of Thought is really trying to open us all up to having a conversation. That's literally what we're doing. We're having a conversation. And that to me is ultimately the key to growth. That's truly what I believe to be the fundamental basis for it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Having a conversation and making sure that conversation with yourself is not negative. I mean, that's all the themes. It's funny. We just talk about being open to talking to strangers. So a friend of mine, actually, Susie, just liked our post here. Susie, I don't know if you're still there. If you are still around, feel free to chime in here. But Susie, I just happened to meet in my travels. She was an executive for an airline. And we just coincidentally happened to she helped me out with a situation, but she was telling me about her family, I was telling her about my family, and and from that we've engaged and we've stayed friends actually over the years. I've followed actually her as she sailed into retirement. She actually even helped my sister out when she got stranded in Mexico and they were getting with a hurricane. She helped her get out of Mexico.
Wow.
But so it's just the idea is just you never know who you're going to meet. Engage with people, be open, as you said, Paul. So listen, I think that's it. I think we've said a lot. I think we should wrap it up. Do you have anyone that you want to read for next week? I haven't even taken a look actually.
Okay, I'll do exactly what I did last time. I'm just going to crack that book open, and I'm going to go. How about we do relationships?
Oh, relationships. Listen, this worked out really good. Approachable. I like it. It's a great topic. Something I think we all do. I mean, how do I not talk about my dad? My dad is one of the most approachable people I know. My dad is my dad can't be in a room with strangers and not have conversations with him. I'm talking about this like I've learned this from reading a book and other things, but that's like I got it from my dad. It's been part of me and my DNA, literally part of my DNA. So, all right. So relationships for next week sounds good. I love it. I have a feeling actually it's going to be almost something similar to what we've discussed here today. But it's now we're going actually into from focusing on ourselves to focusing externally. Not by design. We're like randomly picking things up here, but I like the theme that we're going here. So, all right, Paul, love doing these with you. I think I have a lot of fun actually doing them, and I think we grow each time. We got a thumbs up from the awesome, the lovely Darla Lucido.
Yes, Darla, let me tell you, Doran and I have been doing a lot of growing over the last it'll be 34 years for us. Unbelievable. Married, that is. And I wanted to say one thing too. I love your dad. Your dad is a great man. He's always been an ally as well as you. You guys, like father, like son. He should be so proud, brother. So proud. And I know that he is. The apple doesn't fall far from the tree, as they say.
Thank you. All right.